years to figure out the message of the journey to the nothing. And there's really no way to describe it, because to describe it would require words and imagery, but I'm saying a blank void. And I'm not, you can't even say blank or void, because again, that's a something, that's a word, that's an idea. There was none of that. And just, I would say like vast, endless space, but it wasn't that either. It was just nada, nothing, zilch, nothing. It was wild. And so when I came out of it, I was so grateful for structure. And I was not someone who liked our structure. I didn't like politicians. I didn't like rigid religious systems. I didn't appreciate the police harassing my friends of color. I was very anti-establishment and very anti the powers that be, and very anti structure that doesn't allow people to thrive. But what I realized when I came out was that without that structure, we have nothing. So to me, it is better that we have something than nothing at all. And so I started to see how one beget the other, right? Like that with the rise of the good came the rise of the evil. And with the contrast between good and evil, light and dark, one defines the other. And so while, I'm not a big fan of evil, I understood the purpose of it at a soul level. It helps our definition. It helps us understand ourselves. And to me, any definition or categorization is not there to limit us or box us into a prison. It is to inform us and propel us deeper into our own understanding. But a lot of people find the category, find the definition, and anchor in that and make that their identity, and they go no further. And so when that happens, I feel that's when it gets really distorted into the low level structures, right? Really, our government, as it is written, it would work if we ever executed it the way that it was written. It would be brilliant and beneficial if the Republicans were actually about limited federal overreach and promoters of state rights, but they're not, right? And so this distortion happens. And even in the distortion, that gives rise to the clarity, right? And I understand that in this realm and in this reality, it is a realm of polarity, right? Okay, got it. But how did we get from the nothing to the something? And what I came to, and this is actually scripture, in the beginning, there was God. Okay. So if we've got the nothing, and then now suddenly we have a beginning. How do we go into a beginning from nothing? And the link that I found was desire. I believe that the nothing wanted to experience itself as something. And in that desire to want to experience itself, it began to create and to expand beyond the nothing, the blank, the void. And so the nothing has a want or a curiosity or a wonderment, and it's like, wonder what it would be like if there was a firmament. Wonder what it would be like to create a night sky. Wonder what it would be like to create an entire world. Wonder what it would be like to create entire galaxies, right? And so I saw it just as this natural expansion, because that is the way nature operates on this planet. Everything goes through a period of expansion and contraction and expansion again. And so the origin being the nothing, it was neither good nor bad. It was not evil or holy. It just was. And then it became. And then we started assigning word, definition, categorization to what we saw as the world around us. In defining it, we separated. It begins to be part of this, but not part of that. Again, I believe definitions are there for inspiration, information, and understanding, but we should go beyond that, right? It's like when someone's diagnosed with autism and we now know, okay, I'm neurodivergent, I'm on the spectrum. I don't stop there. I find out what my neurodivergent self needs. I find out how to live in this world as a neurodivergent person. I don't just stop with, well, I'm neurodivergent, so the end. Or I have ADHD, so the end. Or I have arthritis, so the end. No, it's continual expansion, right? And then understanding, integration, and then that may look like a time of contracting inward and then spiraling back out. So I definitely believe that there is an energy that set this all into motion, and I call that the great mystery. And I actually work with a lot of different names to name the unnameable, to know the unknowable. I love Jesus. I love God, the loving God that my parents taught me about. I love Mother Nature. I love our planet as a holy, divine being, Mother Gaia. I love Great Spirit as I learned to have a relationship with that energy through the Lakota tradition. I love working with the natural rhythms and natural cycles and seasons on Earth. So I find myself more in alignment with Earth honoring traditions than any other ways of working within that. I love the goddess because learning about the goddess and learning about her stories restored both my humanity and my divinity, because I was trying to reach this unattainable standard of perfection and being a good Christian that constantly kept me in a place of shame and not good enough. And when I started hearing the stories of the goddess, it was like, she was like, sometimes she's, a destructive force, destroying for good, not for evil, but because it needs to be cleansed. And sometimes she's a decadent force that just wants to, enjoy music, art, lovemaking, all the sensual pleasures. Sometimes she is the sacred law herself and that code of integrity that lives within us. And so learning about her and also how long her mythologies had been around, which predates Christianity, I uncovered as much as I possibly could about all of that. And so then it becomes a question of what do we pass along to our children? And it was also in the goddess tradition that I found a way to pass life-affirming, inspiring traditions onto my kids.